WADR, promoting dialogue. It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Port Novo. Good afternoon and welcome to NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on WADR.org. First, the headline stories. Former rebels in northern Mali set up blockades on major connecting routes targeting the army. The Guinean government's revised update from Monday's blast confirms 23 fatalities and 241 injuries from a previous count of 178. Nearly 50 million children in West Central Africa forecast to require humanitarian assistance next year, and the Gambian Parliament passes the 2023 anti-corruption bill aiming to curb corrupt practices in the public sector.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled Anti-Corruption Bill 2023, having gone through the reconsideration stage, be moved third time and passed.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NewsLink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana and Liberia. We'll begin in Mali as the armed independence groups of the North, united within the Permanent Strategic Framework or CSP, announced the setup of a blockade in the north of the country. This blockade concerns the main towns in the northern region, according to the coalition. This comes just over a month after the Malian army took the town of Kidal, now referred to as a former stronghold of the armed independence groups. More details with Imo Edet.
Just over a month after the Malian army recaptured the town of Kidal, this blockade of the north was the first response from the Permanent Strategic Framework. After the capture of Kidal, the armed pro-independence groups united within the CSP had indicated that they would not lay down their arms and called on their members to continue fighting. The CSP is therefore imposing a total blockade on the routes from the Algerian border to the northern Malian towns of Menaka, Kidal, Gao, Timbuktu and Tuadeni. The blockade, which has yet to fully be effective since it was announced, concerns all products and all means of transport. According to CSP officials, the embargo is primarily aimed at the Malian army, which is increasingly occupying the north of the country, particularly the Kidal region. It should be noted that this idea to impose a blockade on the northern towns is not accepted by all the rebel groups, some of whom fear that it will primarily affect the people of the north who are already living in difficult socioeconomic conditions. Until now, blockades have been the modus operandi of the violent extremist groups operating in northern and central Mali. Since the resumption of hostilities between armed independence groups and the Malian army in the north, Bamako has labeled them terrorists, accusing them of forming alliances with violent extremist groups.
Imo Edet filed that report. Meanwhile, France has annulled the extradition decree of François Compaoré to Burkina Faso. For the Norbert Zongo National Press Center, Thursday, 21 December is another black day for human rights defenders as France finally rescinded the decree extraditing Compaoré. The decree signed on 13 December by the French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne is in accordance with the European Court of Human Rights ruling on September 7. This ruling concluded that there had been a violation of Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights in the event of the extradition of Blaise Compaoré's younger brother. The article in question stipulates that no one shall be subjected to torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. The Norbert Zongo National Press Center now accuses the current government of having done nothing to convince the people of Burkina Faso that it was concerned about the proper administration of justice in the case of Norbert Zongo. A report reaching our newsroom says the French security platform Operation Barkhane, stationed in the Niger Republic, is today making its final withdrawal in a process that began shortly after the July 26 coup that overthrew President Mohamed Bazoum. According to the information available, the last 50 soldiers from the initial 1,500 troops still on Nigerian soil have departed for France. Their departure was officially recorded in the presence of General Eric Ozane, commander of French forces in the Sahel, who handed over the planned Niamey air base to the Nigerian military authorities. Now, the Guinean government on Thursday said the death toll from a blast and fire at an oil terminal in the country's capital, Conakry, has increased to 23 from 13 earlier reported, and the number of injured persons has gone up to 241 from a previous count of 178. David Vincent tells us more.
According to a government statement, 10 remains were still to be identified, adding that it had received reports of several people still missing. The blast at Guinea's main oil terminal that handles its fuel imports sparked fears of shortages, but the government claims gasoline distribution was still ongoing across the country. Contrary to the government's claim, clashes broke out on Thursday in Conakry between security forces and a group of young people following the unavailability of petrol at gas stations. The supply of diesel has resumed while petrol distribution remains cut. According to reports, they barricaded the road leading from the outskirts of the capital to the center, particularly in the districts of Sonfonia, Wanindara, Kagbelen, Koloma, and Hamdalai. The demonstrators reportedly threw stones at the defense forces. They reported that strategic locations were forced to respond by firing tear gas. There is yet to be any official statement regarding the clashes or details of arrests made. Across Conakry on Friday morning, the restriction on tanker trucks is maintained.
David Vincent filed that report. Now, across West and Central Africa, an estimated 46.7 million children are forecast to require humanitarian assistance next year due to ongoing conflict and different security challenges. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, in a report released on Thursday, said the Central Sahel region and the Democratic Republic of Congo have the majority of the number. It added that Chad in the Central African region has lately reported a massive displacement of women and children into the country from Sudan. Tawfiq Abdel Nasser has won this report.
In the statement, UNICEF Regional Director for West and Central Africa, Felicite Chibinda, articulated the pain children endure even when they do not cause conflicts, calling for a permanent and lasting solution for the region's children amid the chronic crisis. According to the UN agency, West and Central Africa is home to a large number of critically underfunded emergencies and some of the most neglected humanitarian crises in the world for children. The Sahel countries are the most affected, with several areas of Burkina Faso, Mali, and northwest Nigeria showing emergency levels of children wasting that exceed 15%. Thus, UNICEF says more than a third of the funding requirement in 2024 is to address malnutrition in the region, and the prevalence of wasting in children under 5 years remains high. By the end of October 2023, 1.9 million children under 5 years were admitted for treatment of severe wasting across 9 Sahel countries, representing a 20% increase as compared to the same period in 2022. With growing insecurity and threats to humanitarian workers in the region, UNICEF says it works through a large number of local actors who are crucial in negotiating access to and promoting acceptance of aid among the affected population and humanitarian responders.
Tawfiq Abdel Nasser reporting there.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
We stream live on wadr.org. Let's take you to the Gambia, where the Parliament on Thursday passed the anti-corruption bill after an intense third reading session preceded by various stages of scrutiny. The bill was then read on the floor of the Parliament and moved by the Justice Minister. WADR's Sankule Janko in Banjul has been following the progress of the bill and filed this report.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled Anti-Corruption Bill 2023, having gone through the reconsideration stage, be moved third time and passed.
That was Dauda Ejalo, the Gambia's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, on the floor of the National Assembly. The anti-corruption bill underwent scrutiny to strengthen the nation's anti-corruption framework, seeking diverse insights for unique challenges. Also, detailed discussions occurred in Parliament addressing provisions, implications, and legal compatibility, while revisions were made for clarity and effectiveness. After many back and forths in what can be described as legislative debates, the much-anticipated bill was passed by the lawmakers. Fabakary Tombanjata is the Speaker of the National Assembly.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill entitled Anti-Corruption Bill 2023, having gone through the consideration stage with amendments, be read a third time and passed. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, the bill has now been passed.
Now passed, the enactment of the bill into law is just a step away as it awaits President Adama Barrow's approval as requested by the Constitution. The Anti-Corruption Bill of the Gambia, among others, seeks to promote transparency, good governance and curb corruption in the country as a whole and public institutions in particular. The Parliament has, in the meantime, adjourned sessions for the year 2023. For the Lincoln West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sankula Janko reporting from Banjul.
Away from the Gambia, the minority in Ghana's parliament has raised concerns over overspending within various units under the office of the president. The minority pointed fingers at the chief of staff's office, the press office, and the cabinet secretariat for surpassing their allocated budget. According to ranking member of the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, the development does not bode well for the country, especially in these grim times. From Accra, WADR's Nadia Ditete reports.
The ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, highlighted specific instances, mentioning the Cabinet Secretariat overspent its budget by almost 3 million Ghana cedis before the year's end, violating the Public Financial Management Act.
The Cabinet Secretariat had a budget of 4.5 million, and by September, we are not even at the end of the year, by September, they are spending 7.6 million. So clearly, the office of the president is not part of our budget. And for them, they spend as they wish. They don't care about appropriation, and all they are doing is spending money that you don't know how they got it.
Furthermore, Isaac Adongo pointed out the discrepancies in the press secretariat spending, emphasizing the disparity between the released funds and the actual expenditure.
The press secretariat was released 89,000, but they spent 152,000. I don't know how the office of the president is able to find those monies that it has not been given.
Amidst these allegations, the ranking member on the Finance Committee stressed the significance of responsible fiscal management and called for a thorough investigation into how the office of the president handles its finances.
This is the office that is supposed to be signaling to the whole government how to be responsible in our fiscal management, and that is the office that is really guilty of being fiscally irresponsible.
The minority, through its leader, Dr. Kasia Latoforsen, is also demanding a justification for the 100% increment President's office budget to over 1 billion cedis and a 277 million cedi allocation for the Chief of Staff's office. For WADR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
The Armed Forces of Liberia has officially ended the 10-year peacekeeping mission in Mali. The Liberian Army contingent was part of a peacekeeping mission known as the UN Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, MINUSMA. Recall, the Blue Helmet operation is finalizing its pullout by the end of the year as requested by the junta in Bamako in June 2023. WJ's Daniton Pauper reports.
Since its initial deployment in 2013, the Armed Forces of Liberia peacekeepers have moved in hostile terrains, augmenting the strength of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali, MINUSMA. At a call-for event marking the end of the mission, Commander-in-Chief of the AFL, President George Weah, expressed delight in the professional conduct of the soldiers during their stay in Mali.
Your resilience was not only tested in the field of harsh, arid climate, but also when you withstood 2 waves of infections, disease outbreak, Ebola and COVID. We are glad our contingent did not record a death during this outbreak.
Major Zacharias Magrove, head of the Liberia peacekeeping mission in Mali, highlighted the impact of the Liberian contingent.
The Armed Forces of Liberia deployed its first batch of contingent in 2013 in Altona, the Abali, northwest of Mali. Due to the number of personnel deployed, the Armed Forces of Liberia Plateau had to be embedded within a Nigerian Infantry Battalion. After the withdrawal of the Nigerian Infantry Battalion, the Armed Forces of Liberia Plateau was deployed alongside the Togolese Infantry Battalion, which was tasked with providing security patrol.
The Chargé d'Affaires of the United States Embassy near Monrovia, Catherine Rodriguez, appreciated the uniformed men and women in arms for their service to the UN peacekeeping operation.
The United States recognizes the hard work, dedication, and sacrifice of all Liberian men and women who have supported peacekeeping efforts over the last decade. We assure you that your efforts to support regional security and stability do not go unnoticed.
Over the last 10 years, about 800 Liberian soldiers were deployed to Mali during the MONUSMA's operation, which was to protect civilian populations against terrorist groups. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
You are listening to NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Former rebels in northern Mali set up blockades on major connecting routes targeting the army. The Guinean government's revised update from Monday's blast confirms 23 fatalities and 241 injuries from a previous count of 178. Nearly 50 million children in West and Central Africa forecast to require humanitarian assistance next year. The Gambian parliament passes the 2023 anti-corruption bill aiming to curb corrupt practices in the public sector. Still ahead in the news, the UN urges parties in the Guinea-Bissau political crisis to seek amicable resolution. We also have a Nigerian economist joining us with his thoughts on the recent presidential directive on a 50% cut in public transport fares across the country, plus sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
As a reminder, we stream live on wadr.org and on YouTube at WADR. In Guinea-Bissau, a new government is in place following the appointment of a new Prime Minister, Ray Duarte Barros. Barros replaces Geraldo Matish, who was dismissed by President Umaru Sissoco Embalo without any stated official reason, but there are speculations that the former PM is accused of corruption. While Barros picks up from where his predecessor left off, the United Nations is urging the ruling and opposition camps to reconcile their differences amicably. Stefan Dujarric is spokesperson for the UN Secretary General.
Guinea-Bissau, the Secretary General is following developments in Guinea-Bissau with concern. He calls on all parties to respect the Constitution and to engage in constructive dialogue towards the resolution of their political differences. The Special Representative of the Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, Leonardo Shimao, is liaising closely with relevant stakeholders and is ready to engage with the country's political leadership and other relevant parties in collaboration with ECOWAS and other international players.
Politics,
analyses on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest segment takes us to Nigeria. The government has announced a 50% rebate for road commuters and free ride for those who travel by train between 21 December to January 4th, 2024. This gesture, the government says, is meant to ease the hardship citizens have been going through since the removal of fuel subsidy in May. However, this move has been generating conversations among the citizenry. Ambrose Omodion, an economist and chief researcher at Invest Data Nigeria, joins WADR with his thought on the matter.
Yeah, for me, it's a welcome development for Nigerians, because of economic reform and policy, some aspects we have seen so far in the economy. For that, government coming out with this kind of move, for me, it's a welcome development. But the only thing is that we need a well-articulated plan to make it work effective. Yes, we have seen that government have rushed before now to make some policies that, reversing it has become a problem, but also to make it, bring out the positive side of that policy. We have not seen it manifesting right now. Yes, we have expectation and also good perception that it might come in the future, especially as we are crossing over to 2024. But for this season, to put smile in Nigerian space, which are those that are traveling for this winter season, I believe that a clear plan and how it works should also be made available, because already we have less than 4 days to the Christmas period. Today is already 26th. That means between now and on Sunday, we should have plans.
So there are Nigerians who have argued that the presidency could have done better, that because right now, as it stands, Nigerians are going through a multiple economic crisis, shortage of banknote is on the increase, and not too many people have been able to save up since the fuel subsidy removal. So not everybody is going to be able to travel.
Yes, as you just mentioned, cash crunch. Cash crunch, if you look at the issue of Nigeria, it's of recent, the last 2 or 3 years, this election period, we started experiencing a cash shortage during festival like this. But because the CBN has come out boldly to say that, yes, banks that are not going to let them know, but I believe that there's no cash issue because the CBN said they have extended nothing like cash stoppage or sort of old Naira usage. No, that means, it's living Nigerians that, like I said, will have our own problem, know how they are holding this money. But ideally, the money circulation should be everywhere. That means the central banks should check the banks, check their other agencies to see why other agents of the bank that what is the issue of money not being in circulation. Very
well. You talked about the CBN. I guess this is a very good talking point. Nigeria debt profile is gone up to 87.9 trillion naira. And what you also have is that the National Assembly just amended their bill on the 2022 appropriation budget, making room for expansion of expenditure from instead of December 31 to March 2024. Now, what we see here is more like an open check. Do you fear what might really happen if the budget gets way too bloated?
It depends on, like I say, perception is all of what it is. But if government is sure they want to turn Nigeria economy, the budget they have made will make impact if implemented. In Nigeria, we are good in making policy, we are good in articulating, but implementation has been a major problem. Even I'm not worried that supplementary budget want to run with the main budget in 2024. But it is implementation that we are more. It is for us to make sure that our company, the organizations or the institutions in Nigeria are well done to check all this. I tell you, National Assembly and they have answered that or run with it. We check it flow through the system. It is not that if they are talking about the position, what are the institutions in Nigeria? They need to come up now. For me, it's a movement if the two come together and what they say they're going to do is what they're going to do money to do. That is the major problem. For me, I don't believe that whether it's overshoot or not, but in the economy where you are borrowing and you are borrowing for capital, injection of your expansion of your economy for infrastructure, it's no problem. But when you are borrowing to pay salaries, because this government, the way they are going, with time, we must start seeing their power. But for now, I'm just here expressing.
The previous government of President Muhammadu Buhari said the same thing. 8 years later, the country found itself accruing more debt.
Yeah, I tell you, it's not because we are not sincere in Nigeria. If we can block the loopholes in our training system and our politicians, who are the ones who can reduce their cost of running government, and all the moribund assets in Nigeria are converted to cash, this is a matter of time. We're able to build the gap. It's because we're not telling ourselves the truth. I think that we need a sincere government that will hit the nail at the head, not other politicians or just going around the thing, beating around the bush. I tell you, Nigeria has all it takes to be the giant of Africa until we win the world and harness those potentials. Will be thinking whether they hide the debt ratio to the GDP or not. For me, all those are just statements and also mathematical calculation. Nigeria wants to sit down and look in what have a lot it takes to grow this economy. I'm telling you.
Ambrose Omodion, an economist and chief researcher at Invest Data Nigeria. It's now time for sports update. Let's join Sankule Janko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Morocco will go for next month's Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Côte d'Ivoire 2023 as the highest ranked side in the tournament following Thursday's release of FIFA rankings. The Atlas Lions maintain their leadership position on the continent just 3 weeks before the tournament starts in Côte d'Ivoire, according to CAF official website. This means they will go into Africa's flagship sports competition as the highest ranked team for the ranking that is released every month. Meanwhile, reigning African champion Senegal is the second highest ranked team on the continent behind Morocco. The Triangle Lions are not able to regain the top spot from the Atlas Lions but maintain their position in second. Senegal is followed by Tunisia in the third. Algeria, Egypt, Nigeria, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali and Burkina Faso complete the top 10 countries. This ranking provides an opportunity to reflect on the statistical performance of the continent's teams with a total of 231 matches played throughout the year. Among these, 91 were friendly matches, 88 were related to CAF competition qualifiers, nations and 52 were for FIFA competition qualifications. Algeria and Madagascar emerge as the most active national teams on the continent, each participating in 16 matches. The full list includes a total of 53 African nations, with Eritrea not ranked due to inactivity for over 4 years. Morocco's consistent performance secured its top position in the continent rankings, reflecting a year of intense football activity across Africa, as reported by CAF. As the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Côte d'Ivoire 2020 draws closer, football enthusiasts will eagerly anticipate how the ranking reflects on their team's performance in Côte d'Ivoire. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Maudo Juve for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Do also remember that we stream live on wadr.org. Do join Demba Amar Anne for the second edition of our comprehensive news package in French, Info Chez Vous, at the top of the hour of 1 p.m. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
Your news and current affairs program, Weekly Top News, is back this season and better.
Governance, security, economy, development, and other social matters. Get it all on Weekly Top News.
Because the dangerous thing is what? The dangerous thing is that if there are some person who are hurt, who are abandoned, they can be what we are calling fragile person.
The current president, he has superintended a situation where our tertiary institution have been shut down for months.
Hear the experts, the newsmakers, and opinion shapers.
These unscrupulous individuals have embarked on a violent and unauthorized protest which has led to the loss of lives.
Analyze the week's top and hottest news.
Weekly Top News with Imoredet.
Get it all on Weekly Top News.
Every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar. It's you speaking.
Jox ma ko xam nga fu ma jëm laaj la ko yéen déglu leen mama way njóogu faama man de ki may way mooy Sëriñ Mansoor njóogu faama du man su si yow ma wóola borom daara yuma di amadi yuma daga gore yuma kila bëgg ci bëgg ko bàyyi jamini wona la yamadu wona la yogu fama man di ki